15 years ago, I was six figures in debt, living paycheck to paycheck. My wife and I, we were surviving, not thriving back then. This cannot continue on. Like my wife and I, if we continue on this path, we could end up in a potential divorce because we were not working. Things weren't working the way we wanted them to work. And I remember saying, I need to sit my wife down, do that business, and in 2 years paid off six figures in debt and became $1 million earners. At the end of our emotions is nothing, but at the end of every principle is a promise. And what I mean by that, if we only make decisions when we're feeling good, it's not going to work out for you. More times than not, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to want to do the things that you need to do. But we know when it comes to achieving goals that if we always only make decisions when we feel like it, we're never going to get there. I know we didn't share it here, but my best friend was shot and killed as a New York State trooper. And that was a light bulb moment for me. And I like to say life doesn't always fire a warning shot. And so often when it comes to our goals and our dreams, we talk about we'll do it when we have more time or tomorrow. Like I'm dealing with this stuff today, but the reality is we may not be here tomorrow. It's what you do with the 86,000 push seconds today that matters and not to wait.
Is something standing between you and your happiness? It was for me. I had to face my depression and the constant negative self-talk. Therapy helped me realize I deserve to be happy. That's why this podcast is called I Choose Health, because I made the choice to heal and I want to share that with you. It's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. 60% of you who are watching this podcast are men. And brothers, it is time to take care of yourself. As a gift to you, we've partnered with BetterHelp as our sponsor to help you start your own healing journey. We all face moments when life feels overwhelming, whether it's stress, anxiety, or just feeling stuck. Talking to someone can make a real difference. And that's where our sponsor BetterHelp comes in. BetterHelp offers professional online therapy that's convenient, affordable, and entirely on your schedule. You can connect with a licensed therapist by video, phone, or even chat, whatever works best for you. Let our sponsor BetterHelp support you on your journey to better mental health. You can get 10% off your first month by going to betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth. That's betterhelp.com/iChooseHealth for 10% off your first month. Take the first step toward feeling better today. Today's guest is a 9/11 first responder, former New York State Police captain, millionaire entrepreneur, and one of the most powerful motivational speakers in the country.
Life is going to knock you down, and it's how you respond that makes a difference. Life doesn't always fire a warning shot.
He went from wiping away six figures of debt to building a team of 1,400 and inspiring Fortune 500 companies nationwide. He's the author of the One Decision Away philosophy, a mindset that's helped thousands transform their lives. Buckle up, because you're about to learn that your next breakthrough is just one decision away. Let's welcome the unstoppable David Atkins.
Thank you so much, Stefan. I'm super excited to be here. I love it. I love having conversations like this, something that has impacted my life, the way I live, and to give back and share it with others. So let's go.
All right. So, David, you said we're all just one decision away from a better life. Can you take us back to the hardest one decision you ever had to make and what changed because of it?
Yeah, no, I was always one decision away from a completely different life. And I think for me, if I take back, my biggest thing was, around 15 years ago, I was six figures in debt, living paycheck to paycheck. My wife and I, we were surviving, not thriving back then, is something I like to say. And I remember we would argue and bicker over things like the grocery bills. And I remember at that moment of our life, we had two kids going on three. My wife was struggling to lose the baby weight. I wasn't, even though I was a state trooper and I had about 12 years on, I wasn't in the greatest shape at the time, just the grind of the hours and the overnight shifts. But I knew this cannot continue on. Like my wife and I, if we continue on this path, we could end up in a potential divorce because we were not working. Things weren't working the way we wanted them to work. And I remember saying, I need to sit my wife down, not when, my kids were running around, my two kids at those crazy hours at dinner time, or we're going to activities or on a quick call between work, like it was at 9 o'clock at night. I'll never forget this moment, sitting her down and looking her in the eye and just like, babe, we cannot go on like this anymore. Like we need to make a change. And that was one of the toughest decisions that I made, because I was afraid of what if she didn't hear me out? What if she didn't agree with me? Our marriage is struggling. We're in a lot of debt at the time. So I had all this negative talk, self-doubt. We all have anytime we have to make an important decision, right? We have all that fear. But that one decision, she heard me out, she agreed, and we decided to take care of our physical health. Like that was the first thing. All right, let's get our health in order. And we decided to do a workout program called P90X. You probably heard of that. And we got in, amazing shape after making that one decision. And I think it's important I kind of go through what happened. And, that one decision led us to a business opportunity we didn't know existed with the parent company of P90X, which was Beachbody. And it's a direct sales company, a multi-level marketing, people, it's a pyramid scheme. It's not going to work. But that, I had a vision of like, we are in debt. What if it could work, right? Like, what if we go for it? So we made that one decision to do that business, and in 2 years paid off 6 figures in debt and became $1 million earners. And then that one decision, I like to say, as a man of faith, that I feel God revealed to me a gift I didn't know I had, which was speaking on stage, because they started asking me to share my story of, David, you're a state trooper and you paid off this debt and you got in great shape and you built this business and you have an international team you're leading now of like 1,400 people. So I started sharing my story, and it started to a group of 15 people, then 100, then 1,000, then it was like 20,000 people in the NFL Superdome. And then that's when I had an executive say to me, like, David, you have a gift of speaking. Have you ever thought of being a keynote speaker? And I'm like, a speaker? Like, I run the entire county with the state police where I live now. I was a captain at the time. I have 3 kids. I have this business. Like, no, how do I have more time for that? But I would say, part of answering your question, having the conversation with my wife and then taking that leap of faith in 2021 to retire at a young age when people were like, you're crazy, you're about to get promoted, but I made that one decision, and that led to the publish of 2 books, one, a bestseller just a couple of weeks ago. And I guess here's my point, a long-winded answer. And I always share this, that I wouldn't be on this podcast today if I didn't make the one decision to talk to my wife. Yeah. And so often, we worry about what we need to do like 3 weeks, 3 months, a year from now, but I'm a big believer that life will reveal to you, or God will reveal to you, what you need to do next. If you can make that one pressing decision that you need to make in your life right now. And it's different for everybody. For some, it may be their marriage, like it was for me. For some, it may be their health. For some, it may be to go for that promotion or to start that side hustle. But I'm a big believer, if you make that one decision, that life will reveal to you what's next. And the funny part about it is, just because you make the one decision, for me, was to talk to my wife, it impacted all areas of my life. I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away. Like, let me work on my marriage. Well, that improved my health, which opened the door to a business that led to a gift I didn't know I had, which led to being a writer. So it wasn't like when I made the decision to talk to my wife, it only was linear to improve my marriage. Life revealed other doors open for me because I addressed the most pressing thing in my life at the time, which was to work on my marriage and our health. And I think everybody has something in their life, everybody does, that we often procrastinate on, that we don't make that one decision on. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And that one decision, it feels like planting a seed. You plant a seed, that tree grows up, and a tree does a couple of things, right? Provide shade, it can provide food. Like, there's several things that tree can do from you just planting that one seed, right?
Absolutely.
Again, coming back to that idea of that one decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one decision, and I think we overcomplicate things in life, right? Paralysis of analysis. We let all the noise, but in your heart, in your gut, the thing you need to move forward on in that one decision. If you do that, God knows where it could take you, right? It could change the path of your life.
Definitely. Well, I know in chapter 3, you share how a single conversation with your wife changed everything. What advice would you give to someone avoiding a hard conversation that they know could unlock growth?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have two things I think of. Number one is, what is your why? What is the driving force for why you do what you do? And I say this because so often all of our goals, all of the things that maybe that tough conversation with your spouse, we only think about ourselves. And if we're only thinking about ourselves when it comes to our goals or our dreams, you're going to hit a point in life that it's going to be a lot tougher than you, because you're going to hit obstacles, and often people will quit because you don't have a driving force for why you do what you do that's bigger than yourself. Like me, having 3 daughters now, it's my daughters deserve the best of me, not what's left of me. And that driving force for that why, to give my daughters the best, the best life possible and the best marriage, that driving force why helps you overcome that fear, because we all have fear. We all have self-doubt, right? It's not something that we don't have, but I feel having a strong why and then pairing that with having a vision for your life. I think so often we just go through the motions in life. We accept our life for what it is. We count down the days till Friday instead of leading our life to where we want to go. So when it comes to that tough conversation that you people may struggle with, it's, well, what are your goals and what's your why behind it? And recognizing that if you want things to change over the next 30 days, your circumstances don't need to change. It's you need to be the one to change. So I think the why, having a strong why, is really at the pinnacle of what helps you push through tough times.
As you were talking about how sometimes we just accept whatever life we're currently in.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about a very close family member I was talking to yesterday. And, when you're around some people who we sometimes call Debbie Downers, right? People who, they're always focused on the negative, or even just the tonality of their voice, it just sounds negative. And I had to say to them yesterday, I said, I love you, but I want you to try to focus on the positive things around you, because every time we talk, there's always this focus on the negative thing, and then it comes across in your voice as well. It comes across in the way that you approach life. And so that's been one of the things that I've also had to deal with that myself and had to work on that. And so just having to communicate that to this particular family member, it's just difficult to talk to them, because you're oh man, I'm going to have this conversation. I'm not going to benefit much from it, right? Because it's about to be a focus on all the negative stuff again, right? I'm going to spend 20, 25 minutes just focusing on the negative. And just coming back to this idea of that one decision philosophy, where I'm could we just focus on that one thing that's going to take us to another level, to another place?
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree to that. And two things I think of that, number one is people need to understand often our harshest critics and people that give us the hardest time are negative are our family and friends, right? So everybody's in good company. Oh, I'm not having the support. That's okay. That's part of the process. And another thing is I think we so often, to your point, focus on what we don't have instead of what we do have. And that's why in the mornings, I'm always trying to practice gratitude, even if I'm struggling. I have a roof over my head. I have clean drinking water. I have food in my fridge. There's people that don't have that around the world. So just saying finding the gratitude, you can't be angry and you can't be down and be grateful at the same time. And I think so often, to what you're saying, people that are always negative Nellies, they're never looking at all the good they have in the world. They're always looking at what they don't have, or they're always focused on how far they need to go instead of seeing how far they've already come and whatever it is in their life. There's so much to unpack there, but I agree 100%.
So I know that you served as a 9/11 responder, a police captain, a successful entrepreneur, and now a speaker. How did the one decision away mindset help you transition between such radically different chapters of your life?
And no, I think that's a great question. So I think my biggest thing was, when I started as a New York State Trooper, I said, I'm going to be in this career and be a state trooper for 32 years. And I say 32 because that's the max amount of years for the New York State Police to be on. But I would have never, if somebody said to me, but David, you're going to build this health and wellness business online through social media, and then you're going to be a speaker, I would have bet my pension. I'm glad I didn't, but I would have bet my pension back then that you're crazy. But I think the transition, your question, it kind of goes to we so often try to align the stars and figure things out, and they don't make sense. You can't try to figure it out and make sense of them now. But if you look back at your life, it all lines up and makes sense to why certain things happen, right? Like even down to the micro, thing of when I started P90X, it was a fellow investigator. I was a detective at a time. We, in the state police, were called investigators. It was a fellow investigator for 2 months was in my face, like, you need to try this P90X. And I was so against it. I finally, reluctantly, that's another story, was willing to do that when we were at a hotel looking for a witness of a homicide. But my point being is this: focus on, and I'm going to say this, and I even mentioned this, it's either in my first book or my second. Work with what you have, with where you are, because what you have is plenty. I'll say that again. Work with what you have, with where you are, because what you have is plenty. What I mean by that is, what is the one thing in front of you that you need to handle? Stop worrying about comparison to other people. You have plenty in front of you in your own life. Work with that. And for me at the time, it was, all right, my health and my marriage, and I worked with that. And that led to me finding the way, or life revealing to me the other transitions that you spoke about, right? Like from 9/11 and police to building a business. If they all came at me at once, it would be impossible. But because I worked with what I had in front of me, what do I need to work on today? What is the one decision I need to make today? That took me on the course that exposed me to those other chapters of my life. But at the end of the day, it started with working with what I had, because what I had was plenty in front of me.
Yeah. Wow. So I know that some people are afraid of loneliness, and you mentioned that loneliness is a part of the journey. How do you personally navigate seasons when support or validation is missing, but the mission still matters?
No, I think that's great. A chapter in my book, I talk about you're going to be lonely along the way. And I think it's important, I share that there's, it's all the work when nobody's watching, where you got to be your best cheerleader, when people aren't going to support me. And late at night, just before this call, when we were speaking briefly, I was doing administrative work in the business. Nobody was here cheering me on. It's boring. I was lonely, but it's part of it. Many late nights writing, many late nights my family's in bed and I'm trying to build the business and I'm not watching TV. But I think it's important to understand that that's okay. That's part of the process. But to be able to continue to go forward on top of your why, like I am obsessed with personal development, listening or reading books that inspire me, something that I was against early on. But the authors of the books that you read are your best cheerleaders, are your mentors now, until you get to the point where your circle of influence, the people you hang out with day to day, are also high achievers that are going to inspire you. But early on, you may need to be the one that really doesn't fit in with everywhere else if you want to achieve big goals, right? If you want to achieve unconventional things, then you have to be able to do unconventional work. And part of it's being lonely. And I think for me, the way I got through it is I flood my brain every day, whether it's YouTube motivational videos, whether it's good podcasts like this, whether it's books that I read every single day. You have to pay the toll to your brain, because what you feed it expands. And if you're just feeding it news and social media, when you're lonely doing the work, you're just going to feel like, you know what? I don't want to do it. I'm not motivated. Nobody's supporting me. The world's ending. Politics is a disaster. There's so much negativity in the world. You got to be your own hero sometimes. Recognize it's okay to be lonely, but you need to flood your brain with positive messaging every day.
Yeah. And I think I shared this before in the idea of validation, where I saw this post that was saying that we're seeking validation from a world that crucified a perfect man, right? And so it's just
I love that.
So when you think about that, you're like, look, man, I can put all this stuff behind me because I know that I'm not perfect and the person looking at me is not perfect. So I'm just going to work on what I know is necessary to, one, help the world along. I'm on that mission. I'm going to keep going regardless of what people think.
Right. And we are only in our own journey, and I think we often compare, whether it's our chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 12. Everybody is a product. Everybody individually is a product of the choices and decisions they made up into this point, right? So whatever choices and decisions, we are here. But at the same time, your environment that you were exposed shapes to who you are. And so often we try to be somebody else or try to compare. And to your point, the world is not perfect and we crucified a perfect man. And I think that what it makes me think of is you got to give yourself grace sometimes, because I think there's times when I struggle, even, I'm not perfect or normal, even though I do what I do, I'm a human being, and I just say, all right, I know what's going on. I got to give myself some grace. I'm having a tough day or a hard time, but that's okay. We all are having that. And I've shared this before, don't compare your everyday life to the highlight reel we see on social media. It's something I say on the stage all the time. We compare our everyday struggles to the highlight reel we see on social media because people aren't willing to share their struggles. 99% of people are not going to be vulnerable and share. But for me, I feel like authenticity is important, and it was a journey to get to where I'm at a point now. Well, I will share on stage and on social media struggles and vulnerability because that's where the connective tissue is. That's where the authenticity is. And I'm not being fake. This is the real David Atkins. You get my passion because I've lived through the things I share, and you're going to hear some vulnerability because I also struggle too. So I think it's just we get so caught up in the noise, but it's your journey. Focus on yourself. Give yourself some grace.
Yeah. So I know that you're definitely a man of faith. What role has faith played in your ability to make bold decisions, especially when the outcome was uncertain?
Faith has become, I would say, in my last couple of years. So I went to Catholic school my whole life up until college, and then I went to a state college. But I would say in the last couple of years, my faith has become even stronger. Making these leaps of faith, retire from the state police, pursuing another unconventional thing, being a motivational keynote speaker, competing against, celebrities and pro athletes and stuff like that. Like, I truly believe that this was a gift given to me, and there comes a point in time that if you do the work, I'm not saying people should be lazy, I'm just waiting for God or my faith to reward me. No, but I'm a big believer, and I speak about it in my book, that there comes a point in time that if you do everything possible in your power, you put in the work, you're coachable, you're teachable, you're finding the gratitude, you're doing the right things, eventually you have to surrender it to the big man and say, all right, like, I did the best I can, and put it in your hands. The one decision away philosophy, I define it as it's a choice made in the present moment, backed by courage and faith to move you one step closer to your goals. And I say courage and faith, and those words are so important because, number one, courage is the opposite of fear, and we're all going to have fear, but it takes just one word, that is courage, having a little courage to move forward. We all need a little bit of courage, right? And the second is faith, because faith is the belief in things you cannot see. And so often we have to go on faith. So for me, like I say, every time I made the one decision, I had to go on facing that fear, so having courage, and I had to go on faith because you can't physically see the next step, right? Like, even now where I am with speaking, I think of the level in the last couple of months. Now I'm part of an exclusive agency, and now is the next step, and I'm trying to go to another level, and I got to go on faith. I got to go on having the courage to do it, and I got to go on the hard work. When I surrender it to God, it's going to come back and reward itself because I did my part, and I have to have faith that He will do His.
Yes, definitely. Now, in the book, you say principles over emotions. Can you break down how someone can begin making value-based decisions when they're used to reacting emotionally?
Yeah, I love that. There's a whole chapter on principles over emotions, and I break it down that at the end of our emotions is nothing, but at the end of every principle is a promise. And what I mean by that, if we only make decisions when we're feeling good, it's not going to work out for you. More times than not, you're not going to be motivated. You're not going to want to do the things that you know you need to do. But we know when it comes to achieving goals that if we always only make decisions when we feel like it, we're never going to get there. But if we make decisions based on principles that are tried and true, like if I have the discipline to show up and do the work every day or to go to the gym every day, I will get results. If I have the principle of being consistent, meaning you're doing what you know you need to do more days than not in a week, that tried and true, you will be successful because it compounds over time, right? If you follow the principle of perseverance, pushing through hard times, tried and true, you will be successful. So you have to, so often in life, we have to anchor our decisions based on the principles. I mean, more times than not, like I said, I'll wake up, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. I'm not motivated to do the administrative work I was doing beforehand. But principle says, David, you need to show up today. You need to get your exercise in. You need to read your personal development because those principles are tried and true. They're going to work. And you can't make decisions based on emotions. So that chapter, I think, is so important because I think more often than not, we have rough days and you have to block out the emotion, say, what do I need to, what's the decision, what's the principle I need to follow now? And you have to anchor your decisions and your actions based on the principle, not on your feelings.
You know, in connection with that, something you shared in the book really stuck out to me. It was saying, you said, remember every obstacle is temporary, but your commitment to your vision must be permanent. And I was like, whoa, that was heavy. I was like, okay, like I gotta remember that. I gotta remember.
Yeah, I think obstacles are not a stop sign; they're a growth sign. That's the way I see it. And the bigger the goal, the bigger the price tag you need to pay. And I look at my own journey every time, you know, if I give it a specific micro example, getting a no when I built my Beachbody business for somebody wanting to do a fitness program is nowhere compared to the no I may get for a high-paying speaking event at this level. But life prepared me. That obstacle back then, it wasn't a stop sign. It was a growth sign to keep building that business, which created the version of me now to be able to do what I do today at a higher level. So I think we so often think obstacles should stop us. No, obstacles is your vision coming to life. You asked for it and life's going to test you. And this is where you grow, because if you want more, you need to become more. And that's what Jim Rohn talks about, which I love. He goes, you want more, you need to become more. And I always look at it as it's not a stop sign, it's a growth sign.
Definitely. So, David, I know you've built $1 million business while wiping away 6 figures in debt. What were the key daily decisions that help you go from survival mode to success mode?
Yeah, I think that once my mindset changed, number one was I started committing to personal development. Number two is I followed, and I have no problem saying, I really dove into Dave Ramsey Total Money Makeover book, and he gave me a plan, because you have to have a plan. Like my next, I think of yesterday, I was on looking at my next ultra marathon plan. Whenever you want to level up in your life, you have to have a plan. So for me, it's every single day I'm doing personal development and I'm learning, and every single day, what is the plan I need to follow to grow to that next level? So every step, you have to grow, you have to be teachable, you have to move forward, and it doesn't end. Success is not a destination. Every time you want to go for a bigger goal, there's more that you need to learn, more that you need to grow, and a new plan that you really absolutely need to have.
So how does someone start developing the courage to follow their gut, especially when it conflicts with logic, fear, or other people's opinions?
I think it goes back to what I said earlier. It goes back to your why. I really, that is something when somebody said to me, David, what is your why? I kind of at first, I thought it was like this, like not hokey pokey stuff. Like, what do you mean, what is my why? Like, I'm working hard. I'm in the grind every day. I'm trying to make a living. But you really have to peel back like the layers of an onion. Like, why do you want to do what you do, right? And why is it important to you? All right, well, you know, I work so I can take care of my family. Well, what does that mean? Well, I have 2 kids and they depend on me. Well, what does that mean? Well, I need to earn the money so that they can eat and we can do certain things. Like when you really break it down, you know, that opens your mind and helps you have that vision to go there. There's a question once posed to me and it made me just think of it. It said, if you had all the money and all the time in the world, what would your life look like? And that helps you create that vision, right? If you had all the money and all the time in the world, what would your life look like? So now you can create that vision of what you want in your life, and then you can anchor it, to answer your question, on a why, because I really believe why is what's going to drive you to go after that vision, to do those things, to push you further.
Yeah. Wow. So I know you said that comparison kills progress. What are some tactical ways people can stay focused on their unique journey, especially in this age of social media?
Yeah. I think you need to limit your time on social media, number one. Like I go on there, I put up my content, and I stop the scroll. I mean, anybody listening to this, literally go look on your phone and go look at your usage, your time usage of how much you spend on Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, whatever, or Snapchat. You will be blown away. The hours we spend per day But for me, to answer that, like, how do I avoid comparison? I only go on there and work, and I take that time and fill it with stuff that's going to help me grow me. So that's maybe reading a good book. I mean, from the authors of, whether it's, there's the books that I wrote, but there's also, like, for me, John Maxwell and Darren Hardy and Brendan Mashard and Tony Robbins, all of them, like, I really realized that's where I need to focus my time. I need to be intentional with my hours every single day, because we only get 400 seconds in a day, right? No more, no less. It's what you do with those 86,400. So for me, I'm very disciplined with my schedule and what I do in that time, and not to do it and waste it on things like social media, because that will cause comparison. And it goes back to principles over emotions, because if I do catch myself doing that, which I've been guilty of, and all of a sudden, oh my God, look what that person's doing, I'm like, whoa, I'm comparing myself. Like, I need to stop that. And I even talk about in my book, literally an action that people can do, that if there's people that inspire you, that you look up to and you want to achieve what they want, but you find that they're not motivating you, like you're comparing bad, it's okay to snooze that person. Maybe somebody you look up to, friends with, maybe for 30 days, because that's not serving you. I mean, I say that because there's been people I'm like, wow, I can learn a lot, but every time I see them, they are at a place where I would like to get to, and I'm finding it's negative self-talk and it's energy. And not that I block them, because it's not like I dislike them. It's a crazy person. They inspire me, but I'm like, yep, I need to hit a pause for 30 days because I need to realign myself to get focused. And you can do the little dots and snooze the person for 30 days and they don't know. And sometimes you maybe need to do that with the people that you look up to the most, so that you don't get caught in that comparison.
I don't know if you've ever seen that Denzel post where he talks about the 86,000 seconds we have in the day. And he said, you have 86,400 seconds in a day. If there's someone who throws you off your kilter for 60 seconds, are you going to allow those 60 seconds to pretty much dictate the other 86,000 seconds you have in a day?
Right.
And I was just thinking about that, like, wow. Like,
you can't.
Yeah.
We can, and you don't know if we're going to be here tomorrow. I know we didn't share it here, but my best friend was shot and killed as a New York State trooper, and that was a light bulb moment for me. And I like to say, life doesn't always fire a warning shot. And so often when it comes to our goals and our dreams, we talk about, we'll do it when we have more time, or tomorrow, like I'm dealing with this stuff today, but the reality is we may not be here tomorrow. It's what you do with the 86,000 seconds today that matters, and not to wait, because I did not expect that my best friend to die so young that I was on the phone with him one day and the next day I'm crying over him in the hospital. So life is fragile, and I always say life doesn't always fire a warning shot, and that was a wake-up moment for me to live each day to the fullest, and if it's your last, because you just don't know when your last day on earth may be.
And not to dwell on that, but when you have an experience like that, it's sometimes it's sobering, but it's also creepy at the same time. Like, I've had that experience before with a colleague of mine. I remember speaking to him on Monday, and I'm like, hey, I'll see you tomorrow. And, tomorrow was the next day was his last day, and so that was really jarring for all of us at work. We're just to see him Monday and Tuesday, he was gone. So, yes, experiences like that really help put things in perspective.
Absolutely. It's eye-opening, and maybe it's not as close for some people, but I'm sure that everybody listening knows somebody that maybe died from cancer too young or anything. There's so many things out there, and I think we go around life think that every day is guaranteed, and it's not. And that should be enough to say I have to stop waiting, because you just don't know when your last day on earth may be.
By AI.
Yeah. So I know you talk about the power of small decisions. What's one small daily habit or choice that transformed your life more than people might expect?
I think it's my first hour of my morning where I work on my mindset work, and it involves a couple different things. It's gratitude. I practice gratitude that's there. I do my prayer every single morning, and then I do my personal development every single morning. Like those three things: gratitude, prayer, personal development. That's my first hour, and my phone is pretty much on do not disturb. It goes on do not disturb the night before, so I don't wake up in the morning and then find myself answering notifications. Even my phone now, I can't see it, but I have no banners. That's a picture of my family. I see it coming up. There's no banners whatever. They're all shut off 24/7, 365. When I need to go to my email, I go to my email. I don't have a Facebook icon with 67 next to it. Oh my God, it sucks you in. So for me, like I like to say, be where your feet are, right? So do what you need to do. So when I wake up in the morning, I don't have all these banners and dings that went overnight. I spend the first hour, and I do that. So I set myself up for success to do my mindset work. And then the second hour is exercise for me 6 days a week. And then I feel like I'm ready for the day, because this, at the end of the day, is somebody else's agenda. Your inbox is somebody else's agenda. So for me, I make sure I take care of myself first. It's not selfish, it's selfless, because then the rest of the world, the people I speak to, my family, my wife, they all get the best of me because I'm in a better place, right? I'm not overwhelmed, stressed out, on a short string because I wake up in the morning and immediately go to reactive mode because I'm in my phone. Because most people, as soon as they wake up, they're on their phone scrolling. And before you know it, you're answering emails and your day is just like overwhelmed. Nope. For me, it's like I have a very sacred morning routine, and that one small decision has paid itself 1,000 times over for how I am today and where I go each and every day.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, because like when you take care of yourself, you're laying that foundation to take care of others, right? So it's like, think about when you're on the plane and they say, if we're ever in a situation, put a mask on yourself first before trying to do somebody else, right? You have to make sure that you're in a position to actually help. And if you're not fortifying the mind, if you're not fortifying the body, you're not going to be of any use in the long run to people around you and the people that you love.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that plain analogy is so true. Give yourself oxygen first before you help those next to you. And that's the way life is. You can't be burning the candle at both ends. So it starts with taking care of yourself first.
So I know if someone's listening right now knows exactly what decision they need to make, but they're frozen by fear, what would you say to them?
Yeah, I go back to, well, what is the decision? Why is it important to you? And what's the why behind it? And then also, what are you doing each and every day to help support your mindset to make that decision? I think we overcomplicate things so often. Like it's really not complicated. It's every day. I like to say, at least 10 minutes a day of reading or listening to a good personal development book, because that will help you overcome that fear when you recognize that negative self-talk or fear you're having in that moment. And it's going to help you make the decision. And also, you're going to hear about people that are more successful than you that have done it, and you're going to learn from them and be like, well, why not me? I think the personal development is so important. I think having your why is so important. And I think too often we just kind of go through the motions and expect things to be easy, but you have to be intentional with the things and you consume every day. And I can tell you, because I do that has helped me make some of the biggest transitions and decisions, because I've read so much, I've learned so much, I've had so many conversations, I've listened to the podcast, and that helps me push through those times where I'm like, all right, I know this is the right decision. It's scary, but I've heard enough and I know this is the right place, right? And I like to say, you will never be criticized. It makes me think of this. If you're stuck on it, find somebody that's more successful than you and ask their opinion, because you will never find a hater or a naysayer or a critic from somebody that's less successful than you, right? It's so often, don't let the opinions of other people who've never done it before affect you. Find somebody that's more successful than you and only take constructive criticism from them. We too often let those negative people and haters and naysayers affect us, but they never even walked in your shoes or accomplished the goal that you're trying to go after.
So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little transition here. We're going to go into some rapid fire questions. So we're going to take maybe about 10 seconds for each question. So we have 10 quick questions, should take about 2 minutes, and then we'll start to wrap up. So I want you to say one word that best describes how you approach your day.
Perseverance. I'd never give up. Go ahead.
Single hardest decision you ever made and what it taught you.
Retiring at 43 from the state police, and it taught me faith over fear.
Biggest myth about success you wish more people knew.
It's 10 times harder than you thought it was going to be. It's the truth. I laugh, but everything I ever went after, I'm like, I know it's going to be hard. It's always been that much harder. And I want to be transparent. Yeah, people sometimes need to hear it's what you need. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear.
Yeah, definitely. A morning habit you can't skip.
Exercise.
Yeah, same.
Exercise. That just the mental benefits alone, I need it.
Yeah.
It's my drug.
One decision that completely changed your career trajectory. You probably stated it already.
Yeah, it was my conversation with my wife. Yeah.
The most underrated skill for achieving big goals.
Discipline. I think discipline. You have to have the discipline. Even it makes me think of Jocko Willink, who says discipline equals freedom, right? You have to have the discipline. Without it, nothing else.
Yeah. Huh. What's your go-to phrase or mantra when things get tough?
Never give up. It's never give up and no excuses. You know, I even had my original keynote when I spoke used to be no excuses, because I feel like excuses are well-planned lies, and you got to, too many people make excuses. So for me, it's never give up. Everything I did, I'm relentless. So never give up and no excuses. I know that's two, but those are the two.
That's the first time I've heard that. The excuses are well-planned lies. Like I've heard different statements similar to that, but that one, that's even heavier.
Yeah.
But it definitely gets the point across, man. It definitely gets it across.
It's true.
Yeah. So besides your own book, what's one book you recommend everyone read?
The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell. That was kind of one of my first introductory books that was eye-opening. 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John Maxwell.
Definitely putting it in my shopping cart to get.
Yeah.
Fastest way to reset when you're feeling stuck.
I think, I'm going to say, I actually think it's exercising. I say one workout can fix you. That is a line I say. If I'm having a bad day or something's off, I find to go out and break a sweat and get those endorphins and dopamine and all the things firing, that kind of gets me back realigned. And sometimes it's got to go do a hard hit workout or a good lifting session. I say the number one underutilized drug to treat anxiety, depression, all those things is exercise. So I think even for that is my go-to thing for every day. And I'm past, like, the physical benefits are great. I mean, we all want to look good, right? But the byproduct is what I'm about. It's the byproduct, how it makes me feel, and the clarity and the energy I have that sustains me throughout the day for why I do it. So, it seems so like cliche, exercise. No, but I think that's the reality. That's, for me, that's the thing.
Yeah. And then what's a leadership mistake you see far too often?
Positional leadership, meaning just because you have a title doesn't mean you're a leader, because leadership is influence. And if you can't influence people in a positive way, it doesn't work. And I learned that when I became a captain with the state police and a lieutenant, when I was a lieutenant before that, when I took the time to get to know my people and invest in my people, in turn, they want to do twice as much for me. So it wasn't like, I'm the captain now, you need to listen to what I do. No, nobody cares what you know until they know how much you care, right? So for me, having a title or a position doesn't make you a leader. A leader is influence, and you get influence by caring for your people, investing in your people, showing that you care deeper than work, their family, what's going on at home. Then people are going to work that much harder for you, and you're going to get so much more out of work and the people to do more for you.
David, man, I really appreciate this. I don't know if I should let this out of the bag, but this is David agreed to do a redo after a technical mishap last time, so I'm really
it's all good.
I'm really appreciative of him doing that, man, because I know a lot of people have been like, hey, man, I don't have the time, but no, I really appreciate it. So I made sure to secure a proper internet connection in the proper room for this time around, but no, I really appreciate it, man.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much. Whatever we could do to get the message out to people, that's great.
And I want to give a shout out to Robert Cheek, because Robert is an amazing individual. And I met Robert about a year and a half ago, not in person, but like virtually. And after our first interview, Robin was just like, okay, here's another great guy you should interview. So like Robert has always been like, all right, let me put you onto this. Let me put you onto that. And I've always loved that about him. And so, he connected us, and then he connected me and Joe as well.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated him just, with his connections and with his experience, he's just putting people on to different people. And I really love that. He has like a real giving spirit. And I really appreciate that about him.
He's amazing. Amazing. Absolutely. The best.
So, David, this is the part of the show where we give our guests the opportunity to just let people know what they have coming up next in terms of maybe books coming out, events coming up, and then also sharing with our audience where they can find you online. On the same social media, we are telling people to limit their time on.
No, I mean, for me, my website is David Atkins Speaks, SPEAKS.com. But if you go on social media and you look up David Atkins, you will find me on Instagram. You'll find me on LinkedIn. I even started a TikTok. I'm trying to do a little bit of that. My kid's like, you need to go there. But LinkedIn, Instagram, my website is on there. And, my One Decision Away philosophy book that hit a bestseller a couple weeks ago is on Amazon. Everything's on Amazon. And, today I literally just got the message like an hour ago that the audio version, which is narrated by me, was approved. So people are often like, do you have the audio book? I'm like, no, but it's coming. Well, It takes about 2 weeks for approval, and it was just approved. So as of right now, if you're hearing this, the audio book for the One Decision Away with me narrating it is also on Amazon as well.
Perfect. Well, David, again, thank you so much. And thank you to the audience, for those of you watching and listening. And just remember, again, just looking at the numbers, 98% of you who are watching consistently have still not subscribed. So be sure to subscribe. And, just reminding you that choosing health is about choosing possibility, purpose, and power. And as I've shared on this show, where the reason I started the show, I Choose Health, is because I found myself in a position in life where, unfortunately, I was in a suicidal headspace. And, at one point, and I don't remember exactly what it was, I said, I have to choose me. And I decided to choose me. And that's why I said, I'm going to say I choose health. And that's what the idea for the podcast came from, that experience. And so since that day, I think that would have been back in October of 2023, also a new father at that point. My daughter was just born a couple months before. And so just thinking that I would make such a decision like that, and leave her behind, I'm like, no, I can't do that. I'm going to choose her. I'm going to choose me. Yeah. And I'm going to choose to live in a way that it's not just surviving, but thriving. So,
I love it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great way to end. Amazing. And I couldn't agree more. Choose health. And mental health is wealth.
Yes. Definitely. All right. Well, guys, have a great one. Thank you again to David for sharing his time and experience with us. I'll see you guys in the next one. This week on 52 Choices, we're saying to learn a new physical skill, whether it's jump rope, handstand, or cartwheel. This week, give your brain and body a boost by learning a new physical skill. Whether it's jump rope patterns, holding a handstand, or trying out a cartwheel, you're doing more than just moving. You're actually rewiring your brain. Science says that the research in nature shows that practicing new motor skills increases gray matter in areas tied to memory, coordination, and focus. Another study by Klein and Jones in 2008 found that motor learning promotes neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to form new connections and adapt. That means every time you try balancing upside down, mastering footwork with a rope, or flipping into a cartwheel, you're not only building strength and coordination, you're literally strengthening your brain. Even 15 to 20 minutes of skill practice a few times this week can improve your confidence, reduce stress, and sharpen focus. Success isn't about perfection. It's about the courage to keep learning. One skill, one practice, one decision at a time.